Right. We go again. Another episode. Welcome to room 155 of the Holiday Inn in Corby.
Quite a fat room.
Yeah, it is pretty sick actually. We've got a good setting.
Way better than mine.
Today's episode we feature another very wonderful guest. Not only is he one of the most iconic riders of all time, probably. Not only
Crack open a teaser.
he's already on it. He's started. We've all started. He's also got a cracking story, a lot of experience with pretty much everything in life, and of course, his name is Cameron Ward.
Big up.
How you doing, Cam?
Howdy.
Yeah, you good? How's
Chilling
life?
like a world-class villain.
Yeah, nice. How's
Yeah.
life in
good.
general?
It's good. I'm chilling. I mean, I'm like in limbo right now.
In limbo?
Yeah.
What kind of limbo?
Like, what are you doing with your life? You know, when you when you graduate school and stuff, and then
Them
you're
deep
at
ones.
when you're at parties and stuff like that with your family, and they're like, "So, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Scooters." Like,
Just winging it.
yeah, I'm like, "No, I'm going to." Product placement. I like it. Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, when you're just like, I'm just like riding scooters and like doing that, and they're like, oh, but like, what are you doing? And I'm like,
Yeah, what are you really doing
that's,
though?
I'm like, that's it. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm riding scooters. Like, I got other stuff like in the works, but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's good that we accidentally fall on topic of scooters because that is what this is supposed to be about.
Correct.
Yeah, how is it? Are you still riding daily?
Yeah, I
What
love
have
my
you got in the
bicycle.
background?
Bikes are great. I'm just like swerve off of scootering immediately. Yeah, anyway, so about my bike, I got a new Huffy.
Yeah,
No.
sick.
No,
Four-
dude, I'm still
four
riding
pegs?
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how, because your dad has always been involved with scooters as well, so
Yeah.
you've always been like kind of, that's the question. I don't know if you've ever been involved with that directly, or your dad's just been doing his thing as a distributor and that kind of thing. You ever been involved with that, or are you still
Yeah.
involved with that?
Well, like that's
Is he still involved with that?
yeah. So like I started riding because he told me there was a competition like in San Diego. He's like, "There's a competition. Like other people ride scooters," and I was like, "What?"
What year was that?
2008. This is SD2.
Yep. Sick.
Yeah. So I went there. I didn't know like what to expect or anything. I competed in beginner. I went against Shelby actually. That was when I met Shelby. Yeah, in beginner, and I won
just
it.
1-on-1.
Yeah, I was hyped. I won it, and I was like hooked. And then I started riding scooters, and I stopped doing like the motocross and biking so much because I raced bikes before I rode scooters and stuff.
That
and-
probably
and
explains a
moto.
lot with riding style.
Yeah, and then I was like, you know what? Like I'll ride scooters, and I won an SR fork at SD2.
That's sick.
I got the fork, and it was just the fork. It didn't have a crown race on. Remember when you have to have crown races and
Had
stuff?
some of them on,
So
yeah.
all right, so this is the reason we started DSA or Dominator was because I got that fork and I put it on my scooter. It didn't work because it had no race on it. I had no idea. I was a little kid, so I didn't know. And then my dad was like, they have like no instructions or like anything. I rode it for 2 weeks and I snapped it, and then I hit up Andrew. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you're supposed to reinforce them with the crossbar."
Yep,
I was
I
like, "You
remember.
didn't tell me
I
that. I had
remember.
no idea." Yeah, so I had no idea, and I broke SR forks in like 2 weeks. And my dad was like, "You know, we can make like, at least for you or whatever, and your friends, if you want, we can make like forks or like something like that." And then we started making
The Cambo
forks.
fork.
No, before that, the HD fork, which is just like a made to be indestructible fork. It looked
Yep.
like a beefed up Ultra Pro fork, the gussets on the
Okay.
front and the back. Yeah, so
And
we
that was
that's what we started. And
08.
yeah, 08 we started it, and then got
So-
into distributing.
If it went through like your dad was just like, oh, let's just make some forks. I'm assuming that didn't go straight to China. It must.
No, it was
you
all,
didn't go,
all
oh.
yeah, all US.
Yeah. So was it like, oh, let's make 5, or was it like, oh, let's just make 200?
It was like, let's make one and see if
Right.
it works. And then I bent the first one, and then I bent the second one. And I didn't ride like hard, like I wasn't heavy or anything. I was little, but it was just like, okay, we know we need to fix this, fix that, make it higher, and like we did a bunch of different stuff. We just tried things, and yeah. My dad worked for a company that used to make like the grill guards on the front of police cars.
Yeah.
So we had access to people that could weld for him and do like sheet metal bending and stuff. So that's why we were able to do it, because it was like, oh, it's just bending sheet metal and making like just literally stamping stuff out and
Yeah.
welding her up.
And then so the forks happened 2008.
Yeah.
The thing is, from Dominator, I remember from that time I remember the fork coming out. I remember the Cambo fork, which
Yeah.
was like that weird, like
Yeah, it was like bamboo.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then some completes.
No, before you missed the deck saver.
Oh,
That was our
Dominator.
big. That was our big thing.
Oh, those square.
The plates that went on the
Things.
bottom of the deck. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that. I didn't.
Yeah. So
I
that
forgot
was like
Dominator.
that was actually the first thing that we sold.
Yeah, Dominator,
Yeah.
Deck-Savers, DSA Deck-Savers.
Dude, we had like Twan and T-Bone and a bunch of people backing it, like super
Yeah.
heavy on DSA for a long
I saw
time.
all
It
that
was
stuff
cool.
on Inside Scooters.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that was a thing?
Dude. Little Steven Thompson, yeah.
I remember going in there and just having like 3 edits per day or something, or like, a new
Yeah.
scooter part or whatever.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I remember at the same time, I
Jordan.
suppose, Phoenix decks first came out and that kind of thing. Was it by that time?
No.
Phoenix was just after, right?
No, because I remember District's deck coming out.
Oh yeah,
before.
yeah. So District came out
Yeah.
first. That was
Probably.
09. I think
Yeah,
the
it
first
was.
deck came
It
out-
definitely was in 08 because I remember Hyphy Jam 08. We were all on pro models, like literally every single person.
Yeah, so
and
I-
one kid had a French ID.
So District came out in 09. The Dex came out in 09. The product started in 07, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Like clamps and stuff. And then Dex came out in 09.
No. I remember in 2008, I didn't have any District parts at all.
Yeah, so this is the next question. So when did you first get involved with District, though? Because I know basically from the beginning, but I don't know how from the beginning.
So basically, like, my dad and I started that Dominator, DSA.
Yep.
And we got approached by a couple people to distribute. So at the time, we were just doing the deck savers and the forks and then the Cambo forks.
Yep.
And we would have, like, instructions and actually, like, blue Loctite and, like, 3 stickers. But, like, we had, like, everything in the fork box and, like, in the deck savers and stuff. And like nobody else at the time had it, so it was like a big deal. Where it was like, oh, it came with instructions and it was like professionally made and like it was like legit. And some people like heard about it in Europe or whatever, and one of them was Marcel. And at the time, C4 Scooters was what distributed Eagle, and they did like, I don't want to say like I'm put them on blast, like they're gonna hear this, but yeah, like Gino is here from C4 from like, no, they're not gonna hear it anyway. They ran it like crap. Like they did not ever have anything in stock. I remember ordering purple snowballs and never getting them.
The ones
like,
with the funky spokes.
yeah,
right?
I never to this day got a set of those. I heard they broke really easy, but they looked sick.
Yeah.
So that guy was really frustrated with his distributor. So he hit up my dad to distribute, and then he talked about, hey, we're potentially starting this brand called District that we want to start.
Yep.
And this was like in the beta testing, like maybe we're going to do it, maybe we're not. And I remember we were on our way to, actually Fusion paid me, Corey Funk, and Capron to go to Tony Hawk's house and film a commercial with Tony's son on the Fusion scooter that they were releasing. And we were on our way there, and my dad was like, hey, this guy's starting a brand, and he's looking for like intermediates and amateurs that are going to stay with the brand for a long time, and he's looking for comp riders more than video riders. And I remember I'd sucked at videos, but I was good at comps. Like I was real consistent, and I was like, that was my jam. So I was like stoked that he was looking for that type of thing. So he approached me like, hey, would you like to start trying our prototypes and stuff like that? And like I was involved with like the whole process. It was sick to be able
So
to
literally
involve.
from the beginning.
Yeah, before it was called District. I remember getting the prototype deck before it was a District deck.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. So, and then from that point literally till now, it's like
Same, yeah.
Yeah. So that would have, if the decks came out in 09, which I do believe to be true.
Yeah, it could have been 09. 10,
So you
something there.
had one probably just right after Dominator, like right after getting the fork. You had a District deck to test out and stuff.
No. So I rode the fork for like probably a year,
Yeah.
and the deck savers and stuff with the pro models. And then I remember literally getting an Ultra Pro. We fitted the deck savers to them.
Yep.
That was the first deck I rode that was one piece. It was like a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
I rode it for
remember when
like,
that came out.
yeah, it was like, what? Yeah. I rode that for like a week, and then they had the prototype for the District deck for
Yeah.
the V1, which was actually the V2.
I remember even when
Okay.
Yeah, because they remember they made the
Oh, yeah,
prototypes were
yeah.
V2s.
And what age was you at this point, by the way?
Hmm?
What age was you at this point?
Probably
When
like
you
12
got-
or 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Mad.
whole life of
Yeah.
scooters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was probably 11.
So that'll happen in 08, 09, whatever. That was the beginning of what I suppose you call your career, whatever. So when did you actually pick one up in the first place, though? How far back does that go?
I don't really recall the first time I picked one up. I remember the first one I bought, I traded my neighbor. Actually, no, I didn't even trade him. I wanted to trade him.
You
like,
stole it.
No, I bought it for
Definitely
$5. No, I was going to trade him, and he didn't want to trade. I was like, I'll buy it off of you. It was a square deck, and he didn't. Like, square decks were like a hot commodity. Remember, they were like really cool. Like, square decks were better for whatever reason, even though they weren't. Like, before I had pro models, that was like the A model was all we had. So the previous model was
with
the
just
best.
the weird straight dropouts.
Yeah,
right?
and the back had like the incline.
Yeah, which is
for whatever reason.
it
like
just
the
looked
original-
broken from day one.
The mag gears, yeah. That's how you broke them too.
Yeah.
I traded that. Like I ended up buying that for like $5 for my neighbor. It was probably like 10. And we would ride something different every week. We had this park called Real Ride, which later became the Compound.
And where's that?
Paris, California.
Oh, I thought
Paris, California.
Sorry, my
Perris.
my map in my brain just went fucking crazy. Then my compass was just like, "What the fuck?" I thought you grew up in America.
Like Kobe Bryant, you find
Yeah.
out he was like, "Wait, what? France? Yeah, like Kobe."
Right. So this place is Paris. That's not the
Yeah.
France
So
one.
we were in Paris, Eiffel Tower and whatnot, and we would go on our bikes. We had mini Haros and stuff because we like looked up to Dave Mara and everything, and like everybody that did moto did BMX. So
Yep.
BMX, and then we would go on our scooters and stuff like that. And then one day I went to that comp, which is what I have like on my outside of my arm, is that because that's like the day I started riding, was when I was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna ride, because I landed like a whip in my run.
So what's on the outside of your arm?
It's my SIG deck graphic,
Yeah.
and the date instead of my initials, because who puts their initials on their arm, is the day I started riding, which is SD2's date.
Oh, really?
Yeah, December 29th.
I've never known what those numbers. I knew the tattoo quite well actually, because it's your graphic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. All right.
And John Radke made that design for me.
And all right,
which
so
is
what?
like a huge thing for me.
So what date? So what date is that then?
December 29th, 2008.
It's precise.
I believe.
It's very precise.
Yeah.
So I suppose technically it all just kind of happened quite quickly for you though, right?
No, I mean, like we like farted around in the neighborhood, like my big thing was like whoever could jump the most. Have you ever heard of 1080 ramps? The plastic black ones with the little tabletops.
We probably have like the little rampage.
No, we
kicker.
got the same thing.
Yeah, so it was whoever
the
could
ones that
jump the
literally
most.
end someone's life.
Yeah, when they slide and
you,
stuff.
you either
bottoms.
ride up it and it slides, or it just leans forward.
Yeah. So we had those, and it was like whoever could hold the longest wheelie up the street or on their bicycle, or whoever could jump the most boxes on their 1080 ramps and stuff. So it was like that, and then, we learned like we would always like try and push each other. It was like 3 of my friends. We would like try and tail whip or try and jump a mattress, and then we'd ride our rollerblades or whatever. And I never really got into the other stuff. Like I skated, and the reason I built we built a half pipe in my backyard when I was 10 for my 10th birthday. My dad did, because he noticed I was skating a lot at the time, and he didn't want me like around, like just because he didn't feel comfortable with me like getting in the car with a bunch of 18-year-olds and like driving to wherever to go ride, like at UCI or something like that. So he's like, if I build a ramp, they'll all come and he can ride it whenever. So I rode that ramp skating and stuff, but then did SD2, and then I was like, all right, like I'm gonna take the scootering thing serious. Like that was so much fun, and other people do it, and then I discovered videos and stuff, and then I was hooked.
Open a whole new world.
Yeah, then it was a scooter ramp with skate stickers all over it.
So
yeah.
Who else was at SD2 then?
Matt McKean, Coda. He was 16 then as well. Remember?
Has he always been 16?
Remember, he was like 16 for like 28 years.
I don't think he's got any older since.
Is he not
No,
still
we're
16?
actually like really close in age though.
Yeah.
I've seen the ID.
Okay.
No. It was like an ongoing joke, but he
I
was
remember.
there. Yeah, he could backflip then. He was there. McKean won. Brian Murphy, Andrew. That was when I met him. He had no facial hair, like at all, and he had short hair, like a buzz almost, but it was like a 3 or a 5. Yeah. And who else was there? A bunch of people that don't ride anymore that I wish still did, because they had like really cool like bike styles, like Connor Davidson, a bunch of people from Arizona. Like you just remember names.
Connor Davidson was pretty iconic.
Yeah.
Starting with the buff bars. Remember that? Yeah, dude. Like everybody was there. Yeah.
I'll tell you what's really weird is we're saying all these things that literally nobody listening is going to know anything about. Because
I know, it's sad.
Yeah. So to move on to more recent pastures.
Sure.
So one of the other big things that I think has probably defined you a little bit in scootering, or as a human in general, is the fact that you've been going through so many health issues at the same time as continuing to be one of the best riders to watch in the whole world.
Oh, you're too sweet.
So,
you're a liar. It's like full of crap.
Oh, you.
you don't stop. Keep going.
So anyway, I know that that's been an ongoing thing for a while now, but I can't really think back to when I first heard about it. So when did all the complications just kind of begin?
All right. It all started here. I'm not even joking. It's
in
literally
155?
in England. It's England's fault. The reason I am the way I am. NAS 2012. I got an intestinal parasite when I got back from that trip from somehow touching animal fecal matter. I think it was because it was at that fairground thing and there was a ton of hay and stuff like that. So literally I just touched my nose or whatever and I got this intestinal parasite called blastocystis, something is like a long name. And that parasite, for whatever reason, they couldn't kill it with antibiotics, and it took like 8 to 9 months to finally kill it. And by the time they did, my immune system got so weak, so
it was literally just a chance encounter.
Yeah,
like
but my mom has something called colitis, which is like a autoimmune disease only in her colon, but she's had it under control since like I was a kid. Like sometimes you can skip taking her pills and stuff like that, and she's totally fine. But I got Crohn's, which they didn't know at the time I had Crohn's. They misdiagnosed me for 3 years. They thought I had colitis because they gave me a colonoscopy, and instead of looking at all of my intestines, all right, so basically like colitis is an autoimmune disease. Like if these 4 layers of your skin are like your insides, the colitis will basically mess with these first 2 layers. It'll make like superficial like scars, tears, and little marks. Crohn's disease is everywhere through your digestive tract. Like it doesn't have to be literally everywhere, but it can be anywhere from your esophagus to your anus. Like it can be anywhere in there, and it messes with literally all 4 layers of that skin, like creating really deep grooves, and it can create punctures, and then your body fluid will go into your intestine or wherever it is that that hole was. So I ended up getting that colonoscopy. They only looked at my colon in 2013. So I think it was like my sophomore year or my sophomore year of high school.
I don't know what sophomore means.
My 10th grade in high school is when it started, and that's when we basically thought I had colitis for 3 years. So I'm taking these drugs and they didn't help until I got so extremely sick that they had to take me in 2017 or 16. I had to get like the ambulance come into my room and stuff. I had no idea what was like going on. I was like so delirious. I couldn't walk or like sit up or talk or anything at all. So like it was really bad. And then they were like, "Hey, we got some news. Apparently, you got the Crohn's." Like, and I was like, so heated. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Sucks.
I'm suing.
When did you actually find out that it was Crohn's then? When did that happen?
It was probably like right after high school. Like I went from like the healthiest I had been. I was misdiagnosed, but I was really strict. I did like a paleo diet for a year. I did like the gluten-free. Like I went like really simple. I went like all the way back to the drawing board, like on my diet and everything. And I got it kind of under control. But then it just eventually was just because it wasn't flaring up. It wasn't like anything I was doing. And then right after high school is when I probably started getting sick. I remember like even right now I compare my health to my last year of high school, because my senior year, 12th grade, I was 175 and I was like 5'8", 5'9", and now I'm like almost 6'1", but I'm only in the 160s. I can't get back to what I was before I got sick.
So what, they just walk in and they go, good news and bad news. Good news, we know what it is. Bad news, we were wrong for 3 years.
No, it wasn't even like that. Like they weren't even like, they don't treat it like, oh, we've been doing this for 3 years. It was like, oh, see you next time. Like just how HMOs are. Like it's just like that's how it was when I went in there. So when I woke up eventually and stuff like that, they were telling me, hey, we're running some tests right now, and we're 99. We're almost positive you have Crohn's disease, and that's why you haven't been responding.
Okay.
And I'm like, so that's what has been happening the past, like, yeah. So I was like, so you're going to like fess up and tell me or no? Because they'd just be like, well, that wasn't me. That was your other doctor or whatever,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then, serious question. When that's all going on, especially when it got really bad, why did you fucking keep riding scooters? Like, there's obviously a lot more to focus on.
I had a contract. I had to. I didn't want to at all. I was forced to. This team manager... Wait, Pierre.
It wasn't me at that time.
This French guy just forced me to ride. No, I wanted to. Like in a
distraction way.
Not even like a distraction, but just like don't let it control my life just because I'm sick or whatever, Because like I could have complained a ton, which like I'm pretty notorious for like complaining about everything. Like especially my parents, like they're like, you complain about literally everything. I'm like, no, I don't. I just think it's funny how blah blah blah. I complain, but. I try not to like complain about this thing at all, because it's like obviously I can't control it very much. You know, like I'll joke around all the time and be like, Mom, this is totally your fault. Like, why'd you do that? Like these genetics, way to go, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Just like joking. But like I wasn't going to let it stop me from riding because I was doing really well in scootering at the time. Like the SIG deck was doing really well and I loved riding and all of my friends were on the same team as me. And I still loved riding with everybody that I'd grown up riding with. You know, like me and Tommy would go on trips all the time and go to Woodward, and I was like, you know what? If I can just get it under control for that week, I could go to Woodward, you know, or if I could just get myself healthy enough to be able to ride this weekend, I can go to, you know, do that comp or whatever. So I literally just tried to get by at like one trip at a time. Like, okay, we're going to England and we're going to film that London sessions video. Like, crap, I got to really get it under control. So I'd bring like a Imodium and stuff like that, and make sure that I'm going to like block myself up.
I still rewatch those kind of that era of videos.
Those are good edits.
Like there's not a lot of videos nowadays that come out that I'll go back and rewatch. I mean, there's not a lot of videos full stop to go and rewatch if you want to.
Yeah.
But like that era of just traveling places and filming videos when everything was all fine in scooters. That was such a good period.
It's like the good old days quote from The Office when he's like, I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days when you're still in the good old days. And it's like, oh my gosh, how true, how hauntingly beautiful that is.
Yeah. And I remember because that London Sessions, it was London Sessions 2, and we also filmed the Adrenaline Alley one.
I missed the first one because I was sick.
I wasn't at the first one, but the second one was when I just got on District. and I turned up. Because I've known you for a while anyway, through Razor and stuff. I just kind of known you at events or whatever.
I knew you pretty well from that.
But then that event was like, I've known Brandon for a long time. I've known of Chris Hart, but like walking in and just being like, I shouldn't be on this fucking team. Like I'm sat in a room with Cody Donovan, Cam Ward, Brandon James, Chris Hart, and I'm like, nope.
That was the first time I remember like walking in and them all being in that room, because we never rode with the Australians. Like we rode with the other district boys, but them being in England, I was like, oh my gosh, dude, that's freaking great.
Chris Hart is the guy,
and Cody too. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like because I had met both of them before. Yeah. But I hadn't seen Cody since SD4. That was when I met like Latham and all them and Jackson, and so there's a bunch of people that don't ride anymore either.
Yeah, sadly.
and I think also that would have been the first time that you purposely jumped in a lift and got stuck with Cody in London, right?
No, I'd gotten stuck before that. But but your guys' lifts,
that makes it so
elevators,
whatever,
are the worst. They're so tiny, and they're like, all right. So this building right now, we're in like a nicely renovated room. Your elevator is still probably the original one that was put in here with the hotel. Like that coating doesn't work in the U.S. Like we got to upgrade our technology to make it safer. But you guys use like trolley pulley systems, probably with like some belt and stuff, and it's like barely moving, and I barely did it, and it was like.
And just so everybody knows, Cam still measures the modernity of an elevator, of a lift, by going, I'm going to jump.
Give it a balance.
And the worst thing about it is that you've done it many times, and you still, last year in summer...
That was the best one.
I will remember this forever. Because I was in a lift with Cam in Malaga on a trip last summer, and we were talking about how he got stuck in a lift in London, and he was like, oh, nah, I only did this, and jumped, and he got stuck.
No, I didn't jump. I pretended to jump, and it was the same thing I did in England, because, do you know, all right, so you know Shrek? There's a funny scene in that where they're on a bridge, and he's like, don't do that. He's like afraid of heights and everything. He's like, don't do what? This? And he shakes the whole bridge.
That is exactly what happened. I literally went like
this. I didn't jump. Like my feet didn't leave the ground, but I did like that impact thing. Yeah. I did that in England, and the elevator got stuck for 2 hours.
And he didn't learn the lesson.
But I did it in Malaga as a joke.
Exactly, to make the point that is not what happened, and it happened.
They had bad elevators there, too.
There for like an hour.
Maybe. But do you remember, it was way worse, because right before I did it, you said... Oh man, I swear if you did that would suck so bad, because we jam packed, like we were tighter than a Jamaican joint in this elevator. Like there was me, you, Rich, Willie.
No, just me and you in the elevator though.
No, oh wait, was it us with all the bags?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we couldn't move. It was us two, the scooters and all the suitcases in this one little one, and we got stuck, and we were already like drenched in sweat, hot from riding, and we just wanted to get up there, and that one only got stuck for a little bit.
It was supposed to be a joke, and it ruined my. I was stood in that.
You were in a bad mood. He was.
I was in a bad mood in general, but
I can imagine how angry you were.
Well, the thing is with trips like that,
it was ironic. You had to laugh,
and I think
not him.
I think I couldn't, because that trip was like in general, it was just there's a lot of different riders that want to ride a lot of different things, and when you're it's not an in charge thing, but when you're like, you kind of got to make sure everyone's pretty happy. Some guy wants to ride a ledge, some guy's like, nah, fuck that guy, I want to ride a quarter pipe. So you spend the whole day just like trying to be this middleman, and it works. It was a good trip, but then like you're like, oh, I'm so glad that I'm home, I just want to go lay down for a minute, and you're literally about 7 seconds away from being in your room, and some guy goes, wouldn't it be funny if we got stuck in a lift?
I was like, remember that time? And
that's how it happened. But some guy in his head is like, as far as I saw it, I was like, he's done that on purpose to make me explode.
I can't believe you've done this.
Where's that from? I've heard that impression.
It's a vine of a kid. He's talking to the webcam, and the kid comes up behind him and smacks him in the face, and his glasses come off, and he goes, "I can't believe you've done this." Like in the most polite way.
Fucking Miss Vine.
Yeah, but even I think.
But the first time worked out to our advantage. First time I did it, I had your passport. You had your ID, and I had your passport, and I was gonna get in the club using your ID and everything. And me and Cody were just going downstairs, and me and him were doing it. It wasn't just me. Like we were like, because they were freaking, dude. We were getting air like as we went down, like bouncing up, and it was because it was such an old rickety one. But yeah, anyways, you guys should like update your technology and stuff like that.
People like you can just fucking jump around.
I don't gauge the modernity of a lift that way. It's just I can tell when I press the freaking button that the button's like 500 years old when I get in there. There's buttons in elevators older than our country.
I would say there are two solutions to the problem of jumping in a lift and getting stuck. I would say solution number one is the entire country replaces the lift in every single building to make sure it's 2019 spec lift, or the American that comes over once every couple of years just stops jumping in lifts.
You should be able to juke out an elevator, like a fake jump, like what I did. And
but it's not a roller coaster. It's taking you from A to B. It's not supposed to be enjoyable.
But back to the first time we got stuck, that was actually beneficial because me and Cody got stuck. We were going down to the club. It sounds horrible, but Otis, the people couldn't. They weren't in the city for whatever reason. Like we couldn't. Like they're like, yeah, we rang the people from Otis, and they can't be here for another hour. It's like, okay, so we're going to be in this elevator for a while. But we were chilling. We were just going downstairs to meet up with you, and you were going to be waiting for us with Chris and a couple other people. So it was like, oh, we're not going anywhere. They felt so bad for us. We were like, yeah, we're going down the lift, and it just like got jammed. I opened the doors, and we were perfectly in between two floors. And I wasn't going to risk crawling out and getting like,
and I totally didn't jump to make that happen. It just happened.
Just happened. Yeah, I was just being myself, heading down the elevator with my boy.
I was in an elevator just appreciating how up-to-date this elevator is.
Yeah. And they gave us like nachos per diem for drinks, so you guys were able to get drinks and stuff. Like, yeah, they actually hooked it up big time. That hotel was, or hostel. Yeah, that hostel was cool. Yeah. And everybody got nachos and drinks and stuff because this guy did always a little hop and took one for the team with
in
Cody.
every situation. You got to find the good.
And,
it's a silver lining, you know.
Yep.
I guess you've got to find one in a situation as frustrating as being stuck in a lift. I'm not even claustrophobic. It was just a nightmare.
Yeah, it sucked.
So anyway, to move away from the lift conversation.
I almost did it yesterday. Too,
oh no! Oh no, we did. We're in
the UK for how long?
I was joking, and we were with. Stan.
It always starts with you joking.
We were with Stan, and the guy was like, "If he does it and it stops, he stops." And I'm like, "What the hell?" Like, okay, bro. He's like smaller than me too. I'm like, "All right, whatever." Like,
yeah, he's wedge.
Jump, and we got stuck for 3 hours. No, I'm kidding.
So, all right, back to the trip days in general. Have you got like a trip that just springs to mind that you go, that was not like the pinnacle, but that trip was just incredible?
Yeah, I have a few, but the number one probably would be the first time we did Barca. I literally like graduated high school, and I got for graduation, Marcel and his wife gave me like $150 or $200, but they gave it to me in euros because I knew I was going on that trip.
Yep.
And that trip, I deliberately took extra time. I took like an extra week just to hang out, and that was when I stayed with Pole and stuff like that. But we did the coolest thing that we did was the first time we went to Barca, and it still hasn't been as cool since I've been back every single time. Like, I've had fun going with my girlfriend and everything, but the first trip that we did with just the boys, we rented out the apartment. Remember that we had an apartment and we rented it out, and it was the District Boys plus Jack McCann and Royce King, and it was so much fun that year. Like we went out almost every night.
I was there with that trip.
Yeah, it was.
That's
it
when
was
Jack McCann fell asleep eating pizza.
Yeah. And every day he would like throw up, and then pass out, and then wake up. And then
do you remember when Royce wouldn't wake up in the morning? So we turned the hairdryer on and put it in his hands. So
I heard about
he
this.
was sleeping with a hairdryer in his face,
facing his mouth,
and his only reaction was just to kind of just go and just continue to cuddle it.
Yeah, and it didn't blow up or anything.
When you started that thing about that time in Barcelona, I thought that was going to be years ago, but I was there.
No, that trip was so much fun. Like
15?
me, Tommy, and everybody, and we had so much fun. And it was the first trip where it was like, oh, we're filming a video for this trip, and I was like, sick. This is like full like skateboarding, you know, like you get a deal with a shoe company, and you guys are flown across the world to film a video part, and that's it. That was pretty much like the only pressure we had. And Worlds was in Barcelona, and it was huge. Like I was like, Takis and Mountain Dew are backing this. Like, what? This is so cool.
Yep.
That trip was a blast, and that was the trip with the nose manual thing. I worked so hard for that clip, and I was so stoked when I landed it.
It was half cab, nose manual, 360, nose manual, 360. Is that right?
Yeah, but bar.
Parallel.
Half cab bar.
Okay.
Or when it was like 180 bar to fakie up to it.
Yep.
Yeah, I just remember like I felt that way landing certain tricks since then, but I remember that was one of the first times I really like worked because I was like, you know what, it's worth it. Like this clip is gonna be sick, and everybody was like down to wait. Like everybody's like, no, dude, get it. Like, dude, we're not going anywhere. Like we're just chilling, go. And I remember that was the first time I rode parallel, and I thought this is like the best place ever to ride. This is literally. I was on a buzz the entire trip because I was like, oh my gosh, I've been here in Tony Hawk's Underground too. I've been here in Tony Hawk's Underground. Yeah. Like I knew places from a video game I played when I was 9 or 10.
I'm still so thrown that was your first time in Barcelona.
Yeah.
I'm so convinced that you.
I think I was there for that as well. Filming Jack.
It was 2015.
Yeah. The first time we did Barcelona.
Yeah.
And that was a fun world. I got like 12th. And I didn't even plan a run. I was like 12th in the world. Didn't plan a run. I was hyped. Yeah, and then
I
had fun.
That was the year that I was in Barcelona to do nothing at all.
Yeah, I was sick.
I didn't judge. I didn't have to film anything. I was filming some stuff just for fun, but
no, that year I didn't get 12th. I got 12th the year after that. That year I live streamed on like Spanish TV. They had me talking in English with some guy who is from Spain, and I did all of the live streaming. And I remember like, God, that was fun. Like just talking about all the riders and everything. And I remember the boys like after that were in it were like, yo, you said like some sick stuff about me, or like I had a couple people's parents hit me up like, yo, that was really nice. And I remember I was like, that was so nice of them. Like the day of, they hit me up.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, we were just going out having fun and playing around, you know. And
so what is your best result at Worlds? What's highest you got? Your third. Which one?
Tied for third.
Which one?
The one at
was it Rush?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. I think that might have been the first time I saw you in an America shirt thing.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
That was 2014.
That was literally like the favorite Worlds. Just because that park, I was like, man, I'm gelling with this park. It was like big and flowy, and the coping was perfect. It was like a permanent skate park too, not like the ones that we've been using lately. But it was so much fun. And I remember I qualified for finals. It was Coda? No, who was it? Somebody beat me in qualifying. I qualified second, and Dylan Morrison qualified third. And this was right before Dylan had that big transformation after he left Apex, and he was freaking heated at the time.
But that was the year he did the flare quad bar for best trick, right?
Yeah, he was like so pissed that I beat him in qualifying, and I remember laughing. And I was like, dude, like obviously you're gonna beat me or whatever. And then ended up like working out for me. And I remember being like, that was fun. Like, I don't know if I need to do Worlds again. That was fun. But
for me, I think that was the year that that's the first time I remember thinking, oh shit, that guy exists, kind of thing with Dylan.
Yeah, like he's big deal. Yeah.
And it's so odd because I think his transition was pretty smooth, right, from what he was then to now. Like he kind of gradually got a bigger.
He really got lucky. Yeah, I feel like his image transferred like perfectly, like as smoothly as.
So this is what I'm saying. So I think he did it. That was a really good transition from that ride in 2014 to now. But I think if you saw that flare quad bar now compare flare quad bar then to a clip now, you'd be like, that's not the same person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the riding style, the clothing style, like his hair. Everybody in Australia was like that though.
Yeah,
remember? And then they all like.
Well, I think that's a lot of people though, because even like Dante, People like Chris Farris, Rich Zelinka. There's a lot. Rumor even maybe was just like
Chris is like
they all kind of got park stuff, and then they were like, I'm going to try and flip a 20 stir in El Toro.
Freaking gnarly, dude. Yeah. And now he's like, I'm gonna ride a big scooter, and he does like it's a little scooter. He rides bars that are way too tall and a deck that's way too long, and he's still like, yo, I can do all this, like no big thing.
And this is the thing I quite like about scooters nowadays is there really isn't. We always say there's no divide between park and street. You're not a park or a street rider or whatever. You don't have to, that's weird. But I think nowadays you can truly say there's like all the best guys in worlds can also just kill a street course or whatever. And it's just sick because scootering's become such a well-rounded sport now.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I remember coming up, me and Corey Funk in like intermediate and beginner and stuff were some of the only kids that could land an entire run, like out of everybody with pros and everything. Like landing a flawless run was a big deal. And I remember like a banger in a run was nothing compared to what it is now. And there wasn't like, there is a street park divide now with like, at least kids, not with real riders, but kids think that. And I think it started like everybody just rode scooters originally, and then people were like, oh, we gotta do this or that. But like the really good riders were like, no, screw that, I'm still gonna do what I did, I'm just gonna ride scooters. Like and that's why most of the people, at least top 15 in worlds, can do everything. Like they can ride rails, coping, bowl, everything like really well. And that didn't used to be the case. I remember park riders at the first worlds couldn't like board slide. Some of them were
It's interesting that you say a thing about landing a full run is like back then it was quite a special thing because there is a Global Domination Tour, which you would have been at NAS, but there was like 6 comps per year as like a series, and you'd qualify for NAS or something like that. And I think for 3 years straight, every comp that I went to, Razor Global Dom, I did almost exactly the same run every time because I just decided that I was just going to do tricks that I knew I could do.
Nobody understood that.
And at that time, it was so rare. I always got like top 5 with the same run. No matter how many years it went by, I was top 5 because everybody else, like Ryan Mack or somebody, everybody else was progressing on the same tricks, doing like a 1 year it was the banger was like a double whip to bar air or something, and then it was like a 540 flow when they came in or whatever. But like, Ryan, everybody else in the comp, the other 29 or 39 people,
whatever, hang 5 to flare. Sorry, but do you remember that one?
Oh, when they just
hang
5
to
drop.
Oh yeah, dude, I like how people thought that counted.
They do like a 3 meter hang 5, drop the back wheel, and just
people used to do that with manual flares. I'm like, that was not a manual flare, but I can't flare, so go ahead. Yeah,
that was a manual, full stop, then a flare.
Yeah, basically full stop landing.
So everyone in the comps were progressing in the same way, and I was doing different stuff, not by choice, but because I was just shit. All their tricks, I was just doing like, oh, I'll do a seatbelt, and everyone's like, whoa, a seatbelt, even though it's happened 3 years in a row now, because everyone's doing flares and whatever. So I completely winged almost every contest I was in, just because I was like, I'm going to land everything, and I'm going to do tricks that I know I can do. I'm not going to drop in, and my first trick's going to be like this possibly good thing. Yeah, I'm going to stay deliberately average. And it worked out so well because until 2014 or something, people didn't. That was you would literally get 5 or 10 people could do it out of 50 do a complete run. Yeah,
I remember watching competitions like when I was in them, watching like runs and counting down how many people fell. So I knew how many people I would have to do better than. And I remember it was only a handful of people that got a solid run through, but it was mostly people like would drop in and try like 3 back scoot Superman as their first trick. And I'm like, okay, well clearly if I do a whip over the box, I did better than you did because you fell on it. Like nobody was landing everything. And I remember I got a lot of crap when I was in intermediate, and even not the beginning, but when I was in pro. Like right after I started riding in pro, people were like, dude, he's not even good. Like, why is he doing well? And like people didn't understand it was because I was like one of the only people riding a full minute. And I would, in between, my dad was always like, he would help me with runs because I would get like super nervous, like planning. And he's like, if you want my help, let me know. And I was like, I need your help with this. And he told me at CooterCon 6, he's like, when you're riding somewhere, like from point A to point B, do a trick. Like, even if it's nothing, even if it's a whip or a bar, just do a trick because that'll be 10 or 12 more tricks that you'll have than anybody else will in your run. And I did. And I remember being like, whoa, this is like a hack. Like nobody did it. It was always a tail whip on the box, pushing across for 30 seconds, adjusting your knee pads or whatever, and then dropping in and hitting the box and doing the same thing and falling or whatever. So I remember like I didn't have the difficulty everybody else did. I remember like Jake Clark at CooterCon 11 was doing some nutty stuff,
Yeah.
but I did a full solid run, and I did like a whip bar rewind was like one of my hard tricks, and he did like something stupid over the
But
box.
one
He
thing
was
that you never
crazy.
done in comps was push, which helps a lot because
Yeah.
your momentum was always there and your amplitude was always there.
It
So
does help, yeah.
And
with
I
pushing
think-
thing, yeah.
And that's something that I think nowadays that's becoming common practice.
It is. It's
Yeah.
super normal.
Because now the thing is, back in our day, makes us all sound old, but back in our
Putting a
day it
date
was
on me,
it was
man.
like, if you just do a full run, you'll do well.
You're guaranteed.
Or
Mhm.
Yeah,
if
you're
you can do
guaranteed, yeah.
a bad run but not push, you'll do well. And
Yeah.
now it's like, all right, you've got to not push, you've got to trick everything you touch, you've got to be fucking sick, and
Yeah.
you've got to not bail anything.
Mhm.
And there's 20 guys in the comp now that can do that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's probably just going to get you
That's-
top 10,
Yeah.
let
and
alone
that's-
top 3. Like
That's
it's-
what's weird right now is like I'm having not a hard time, but it's like a really weird transition from being the youngest kid in the competition, always like the youngest kid there, looking at the older guys like, oh, I'm better than him, and now being like one of the older guys. It's such a trip, and literally like almost everybody that's at the Action Space event
Yeah.
can do every trick they can do every go. Like Cody Flom, literally any trick he can do, like if I tell him like, yo, do triple heel, he'll do like 5 triple heels flat in a row, and you'd be like, yo, do this, he'll do it, and he'll do it every go. And like Chris, Cody, John Marco, like there's probably 10 or there's probably like 15 of them that can do every trick they can do every go, and it makes park riding so interesting and so gnarly. Because I remember it was like, oh, Cam, if you do like a solid run and you ride different, because I didn't have like, I don't know, I had like difficulty on certain tricks, but it was like, yo, if you ride different, like just be original and be really stylish, it'll help you. Like you'll do well. And I remember doing well the first few times I did that, and it was like, oh, a game changer for me. Like, oh, all I got to do is ride different. Like I remember learning Bry whip bars and doing Bries in my runs, because Bry's scored me better than a Bry whip bar did. So I was like, oh, this is, but now it's changing.
Actually,
Yeah.
Cam and I spoke about this a couple of years ago at ISPO. Not necessarily this, but in like the fact that, because it was the best trick comp at ISPO, right?
Yeah, every day we
And-
had the best trick.
And the best trick comp was almost, we realised that you're never going to do well in the best trick comp at the time if you do your trick first go.
yes.
Because Cam, I don't know what Cam, your trick was, maybe like an inward to invert air or something at ISPO.
Yeah.
And I did something like the trick that I lived on in best trick comps for about 4 years was double heel ice something out.
To manual to 180.
Yeah, some shit like that.
Yeah. I remember
But there was a kid, I don't know who it was at the time, I don't know, but he was doing a front flip on the box,
that. Mhm.
and it's not a hard trick at all, but it
It's a
took him
Spanish guy or
like
something,
20 or
yeah.
30 tries, and
Yeah.
obviously the crowd was like gassed to see him do
Of
it.
course, yeah.
He landed it, and so he won, and everyone was like, well, no, not everyone. Cam and I were like,
I was
we
like,
should have
F
just
me, dude.
we should
Yeah.
have just bailed 20 times.
Yeah,
Dude, yeah, I started doing that, not only with runs and stuff, but with best trick and stuff. It was like, yo, don't do it first try. Like, make it look really hard. Because I have a really hard time with when I'll do a run or I'll do a trick, people are like, dude, try. Like, put in some effort. And I'm like, no, like, I'm really trying. So, like, I'll try and land with my feet apart on certain tricks, like, especially in a run. If it's supposed to be a harder trick, I will always make it look like it's harder when I'm landing.
It's
You know,
an
like, I'll
interesting
land on the
tactic.
head. If I do, like, 2-7 bries and stuff, like, out of feebles, I'll try and land, like I'll try and do like the head tube thing or like impact. I'll like lean back and stuff, because otherwise it's like, dude, this guy's just freaking screwing around for a minute.
Yeah. What was your contest history like, Danny? What was your best ever result at a contest?
2 competitions in my career,
What were they?
Flawless first.
and the first one was when I was on dog scooters. It was at Corby.
And what was it? A street
It
comp?
was
or what?
well, it would have been building 1 where the street section is, but you know, with the 6 step up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember.
I qualified second, and I was gassed.
Sick. Who got first? He was qualified.
No,
first.
qualified second, and
Yeah.
then when it was top 10, I came 9th because my run was sick, and then I tried to inward down the step up gap.
That was the comp that I got third at Corby.
Yeah,
It was
Yeah,
that was
we
the
were there.
domination year.
yeah,
it
because
bent-
basically,
Lewis
I've
Wi-
always
Lewis
been.
Williams-
I'm not a competitive rider by any means, and I'm also dead shit at, like stuff like that. But basically, everything was going sound. The fun box used to be real steep and tall, didn't it?
Yeah.
I remember doing like a triple over that, and then instead of keeping momentum, I'd done like a truck off the ledge to flat, and then as I got up the step up, I don't know what I'd done up it, like a rewind, downside finger whip on the bank, and I threw the inward on an Ultra Pro, and you know when you just land on the head tube and fall
Yeah.
off, and I just
you
lost
know-
like 10-15 seconds just getting back up there,
Yeah.
and then redone it, and it was horrible, and by that point, yeah, it was like time up. So
Man.
So
it was
really
that.
weird. it's really weird that you brought up that contest, because until you've just mentioned it, I completely forgot that happened. But now you've said it, I'm like, I remember that perfectly.
Yeah.
Because that was, so I first heard about you probably a year or two before that or something, and then it was like, oh, there's this street guy doing finger whips and shit, right, and Manny inwards or whatever, and then like went to a contest, and it was like, it was so surprising that you could ride a contest.
I couldn't.
No, but you
You
couldn't
did,
qualify.
though.
That was my point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
then-
qualified second.
And I ended up third. Ben Grantham got second. Luke Williams got first.
Mm-hmm.
That was. Oh no, maybe
Grantham.
it was. It was that year.
The MC was announcing hang fives as nose wheelies. It was that guy.
Oh, it was that era.
That
of
era.
scooters.
It's
Wait,
sick,
was it the
innit?
DJ guy?
And it was also the era that I did own a helmet.
Wait, was it long-haired DJ guy?
Yeah.
I remember him announcing comps.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed competing, but one thing we touched on in one of the last talks we had on this
Your last
is
TED
how
Talks.
is because you've never struck me as a really competitive rider. As in, like,
Thanks.
you go, as in you go to Worlds to win it. You go to Worlds to do well for yourself and for your brand or whatever, but it's never like, you're not mad when you don't win,
No.
right?
Yeah.
And we were talking a little bit about how, do you think that's because of when you started riding, before there was a world champion, before there were certain titles in scooters?
Before people trained to be world champion.
No, I don't think that. Was that it? Like,
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah.
So because we talked about how maybe it's because when we first picked up scooters, it wasn't like, here's 10 titles that I could win,
Yeah.
and I can now see 1,000 sponsored riders at once, and here's how you win a contest. It was just ride a scoot for a bit, and later on you got involved with contests.
Yeah.
nah, I don't think it was that. It's not that reason for sure. Because when I got into it, I mean, like, I'm competitive to a fault, but I try not to show it or anything, because like I know the best way I ride is when I'm having fun. If I have zero pressure, if I put pressure on myself, I do horribly. Like with any outlet in life, like if I'm like stressing, like, oh, this isn't gonna be fun, like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to like do this and that. Like I remember going to CooterCon 7, and it was when we started DSA, and I was like, oh, I have to represent this brand that we started and everything. I had all this pressure that I put on myself to do
Yep.
well in like beginner, and I did horribly.
Yep.
And I've done bad since, and we couldn't figure out like, why do I suck so bad? Like what gets in my head? Because I could land everything I wanted, like most of the most tries, but it was because I wasn't having fun. And that's like with anything in my life. Like if I'm just like whatever, like if I act nonchalant about it, I'll do much better. It's like that self-fulfilling prophecy, you know, basically. Like if I go into it like, yo, I gotta win. Oh, are you kidding me? A district sent me here. Like I better win this comp. If I put that pressure on myself, I'm gonna be so disappointed if I don't do well. But if you go into it with like the mindset, like I'm gonna have some fun and make some memories with my buddies, hopefully I do win. But if I don't, it's not the end of the world, and I'll feel a lot better about it if I don't set myself up for failure. Basically seeing like I'm the best, you know, I have to win this.
And I think that
Yeah.
you can see that with some riders even today when they're competing, how bummed they are if
yeah,
they like
you
put
can
a foot
tell,
down.
yeah, dude. As soon as they do it, their whole body's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Not,
And I
not
think
any way to live.
having riders like you at contest, it makes a difference to the vibe of the contest. It stops it being a strictly Olympic feel. You just see a guy doing
Special
invert,
Olympic
and
feels.
it's sick.
I felt like that with Lewis Williams, though. He's like a similar
yeah,
rider.
he has fun, and it makes
Really
you
good
have
flow
fun.
and
Yeah,
like,
Exactly,
he's
so-
experienced,
Yeah.
but he doesn't put pressure on himself. He's
Yeah.
there to see the homies and just
Yeah.
have a good
He's
time.
there to throw
and that's
down and
important.
stuff. Yeah,
I found that
yeah.
even with like, not that I'm competitive by any means, but like the 2 comps I done, like ultimately I hated them. The only thing I enjoyed was seeing everyone in one
Yeah.
building and obviously chilling after. But like,
it's the pressure and stuff.
I don't want
right?
to perform
Yeah.
for no one. Like
Yeah,
I didn't ride a
do
scooter
this.
to be the
Yeah.
best or none of that shit.
Yeah.
Like I just want to
Yeah.
cruise, and obviously it was an experience. And because I was sponsored, I felt a bit obliged to like, oh, maybe I should compete because other dog riders were. But like,
Yeah.
and then I realized, nah, it's not about me. Like,
It's
and
not
some
my
people-
thing. Yeah,
yeah.
like some people's cup of tea, and some people it's not. You
but
know,
that's just
like,
how it is,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Like my thing though was I sucked at videos. Like as soon as you put a camera on me, I'm garbage.
I think
Oh,
that's
really?
that's
It's the
I'm
pressure
bad
I
for
put on
that.
myself.
Yeah.
Everyone's bad for it's just camera
It does.
Camera
Yeah.
syndrome.
But
It
no, but I
happens,
got it
yeah.
really bad. Like you can like type me in on YouTube. I don't have a ton
Search
of
me.
videos, but
Google me, bro.
yeah, Google me, bro. I don't have that many things. Like it's mainly that hockey player, but like I wasn't super good at videos. But like if you're like in front of an audience and stuff, it's not like I'm doing it for the audience. It's like I'm doing it for myself. And if they happen to see me doing it, I'm like, hell yeah, like that was sick on top of it. So that's how I looked at it. Like
That's pretty cool.
with worlds and stuff like that. If I was doing like a manual, I'd try and do like a yawn in it or something, like a taunt or something fun,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
just because
yeah.
it's like have some fun. Don't be such a robot all the time. Like try
Even
and have a
by
good
the way
time.
you're dressed, we can tell this, mate.
Yeah, it's like it's fun. Have fun. Like you can take. Like I took it serious. I still do with like everything. At least I'll plan stuff. Like I wing it sometimes, but for the most part, I'll go in there like, okay, like let's try and plan out a run or plan out a line. Because let's do the best I can do. Like sometimes I go into a comp and I'm sick. I'm not going to do well, but I'm there to represent and have fun. And as long as you're having fun, you're winning. Like at the end of the day. Yeah.
Decent outlook.
And I've found when I'm trying to get money at comps and stuff, I do so poorly. Like if you're like, yo, there's $1,000 on the line, I need that $1,000 to put a new turbo on the S14 or something. Like I end up ultimately doing worse than if I would have said like, I don't care what the price per se is.
I get that. All right, and to return to the thing you said about there aren't that many videos of you in general. I remember a couple of years ago that there was a handful. There was Locked Up Abroad. There was those videos on YouTube.
Oh, I made those 5 on that trip.
Yeah, and but there were other videos as well of Cam Ward in general. There was a handful, and there's not much in the past few years. Is that like a conscious choice, or are you like, no, I don't want to make a video, or are you like, there's not much point because I can just post clips on Instagram?
No, I really would love to make but the thing is, I would love to make a video. Like I'm not anti-videos at all. Like I just watched Alex Blom's full length that they revealed at that Portland Street Jam, and it got me so jazzed. I was like, I remember like filming with all my friends all the time just for a part, like not like any pressure or like, oh, this has to be the best part ever. But just like having fun filming, going to different spots, different parks, like I love that, and I'm so down for that. And District hasn't done like a big trip in a while, or a trip with like more than 2 team members there. And the vibes have been like all over the place the past few years with scootering and like health and school, and like I've basically been like dipping my toes in like every asset of my life because I can't like fully dive into one because I have to make sure like other responsibilities are filled in. But I love making, like, I'd be so down to do London Sessions 3 or Barcelona Sessions or Japan or something. Like I love those are the best trips, and you get the best clips because you're having so much fun. But
yeah, for sure.
I've also I get bummed out on my videos because people will watch them and be like, yo, like you're way better in person, and I'm like, yeah, but like I don't know how to film it. Like
no,
like,
I
everybody
that.
says you're not a video, you're an in-person kind of rider. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't help me with videos. So forget videos, and I'll just do comps because that comps is what helped me get sponsored and stuff. So whatever. But
yeah, I understand that. That makes sense. So nowadays, you're just going to keep doing the same thing, ride a little bit, work out what life's going to be about. In general, you're going to find a plan. You're going to just...
No, I mean, like, I love riding. I ride a lot. Like I ride a few times a week for sure. I try and ride often. Like I've never put it on the back burner like, oh, I got to ride this month or something. Like I've always been consistent and trying to get better and stuff like that, or at least get back to where I was sometimes, like a couple years ago it seemed like I was just trying to get back to where I was before I got sick and all that crap. But I love like riding scooters, and I'll do it as long as I can. If I could work in the industry somehow, I'd love to, but if not, no big deal. Like I have goals in life and stuff that I'd like to achieve and that lie outside of scootering, but I will always love scootering and biking and moto. Like I will always ride a scooter. Like even if I'm older and I'm not pro anymore and stuff, I'll stay pro as long as I can and compete.
It's important to have hobby generally.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't just focus like all your eggs in one basket. Like I love like cars and I love a lot of stuff. Like I like to do other things, but I will always go back to scootering because it's so mind clearing and fresh, and it's so fun to do stuff. Like I know riding because I've been in it so long now. I'm sure you guys know, like when you do stuff, you're like, nobody else has done that before. Yeah. Like that was cool. Just the way I went about hopping out of the quarter that way, and I love scootering for that. I don't have like a 5-year plan set aside, but I would really like to like financially help out my family. Like I would love to get them set. It's like, I don't know. I put a lot of pressure on like, what are you going to do with your life? Like I really can't like be okay with the fact like, oh, I just worked. Like if I had no significance on the world at all in my life, I feel like crap, I wasted that. Like I want to have some sort of impact, whether it be small or big. I'd like to at least do something that nobody else did, like with my lifetime. So I know that in scootering, obviously I can't not do that, but I can do that in certain ways, but I'll always be riding scooters, and I don't think I'll ever stop. I may like slow down to pursue other things, but right now it's like on the forefront, like I love riding. I'm super down for new parts, and I feel like I've recently hit like a new love for the sport again with
And-
riding with different people
and obviously
again.
you're
And
balancing
stuff.
your health as well.
Yeah,
right?
now for the first time in my entire life, I've been able to just ride scooters.
So
No school. Like
Mhm.
So
usually it's school, health, and scooter, and now I can
do you
just
think
ride.
that attitude that you want to make an impact comes from scootering?
No.
Because I mean, with the amount of time you've been at the top of the game or involved in the game in general, and it's the same with us too as well, you, in the least arrogant way possible, you get used to feeling like you're important to someone or something because of a sponsor or something, and I think that makes a lot of scooter riders feel a similar way to that.
Yeah.
So do you think it's because of that or just the way you are?
No, I think like I remember being like super into Steve Jobs when I was little. Not in a sexual way, but
Super
maybe
inside?
a sexual way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
totally. You know, that guy, the turtleneck and everything.
What's his middle
Yeah,
name?
of course. Yeah.
And-
Anyway, but I remember being like, oh my gosh, that guy literally put a product in literally like every single person's hand, like, and changed the way that they'll communicate, like forever. Like that was like, whoa, that guy, like, if he had not been around, who knows what would have happened. But because of that one person, and even though he was a horrible guy and stuff, I remember having that like kind of drive when I was little. Like, I want to do something with my life. Because I remember my dad works in an office, and he always has. He's done like great stuff outside of his with his other business ventures and stuff like that. You know, with Eastward and making that like a giant distribution thing, and then Envy being horrible. But like that kind of stuff, I was like, man, like he's made an impact on like scooter riding and stuff like that. Like he got scootering into Woodward and like created the ISA and like did all these things.
And this is someone that kids wouldn't even know.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
kids have
do you know
no
what I mean?
idea.
But
who
he's
he is,
not asked about that.
And
he's just done it for the whole like passion and for your benefits.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was because his kid was into it and he had a passion for it, and he lost that passion when the industry kind of turned sour for him and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was like, man, this guy has such a big impact, and kids don't like. He never got the thanks he deserved, I feel like, in scootering. But I think my drive comes from that, you know, where it's like always striving to do something better or bigger, you know.
Yeah, of course.
I don't care what it is, but I'd like to do something with my life that I'm like, you know, I amounted to.
No, I
that,
back that.
you know?
I back
Yeah.
that.
too,
And
man.
I think there's a lot of people that have performed very long-term, important, and thankless tasks in scootering.
Yeah.
And again, as we've said a couple of times now, that's something I really want to explore on this channel anyway. I want to be able to speak to those people and be like, because the thing is, people like your dad, Dave Ward, or like tons of people in scootering that are in that position, they don't do it to get thanks anyway.
Yeah.
So no one sat there in, like, for example, Dave's position. He's not sat there going every night like, oh, I wish people would recognize me. But everyone around him, like me or you, can go, shit, Dave's really important.
Yeah.
And no one knows. I kind of want to get that on his behalf. Like
This guy works so hard and people like just complain. Like this guy held a
Exactly.
meeting in like
That's-
2011 to
that's
get all the
past-
brands together and create
Yeah.
a
past 2 years of my
organization.
life is just seeing people just talk shit for no reason
Yeah.
about people they don't know anything about. And I know that these people are the hardest workers in scooters and the best personalities, and there's so many of them across all different brands.
Yeah, they're in every sport too.
Yeah.
You know, there's always those people that are like so underappreciated. Like almost every, there has to be like almost everything out there. But
Yeah, there will be, yeah. But for me personally, I can see it firsthand in a lot of cases, and I'm pissed off that they, like I said, they don't do it for the thanks, but they deserve someone to go, oh yeah, actually, that is the reason this exists.
Yeah, like don't get it twisted. Like a lot of people, I feel like it'll be like, yeah, this guy did great, blah blah blah, but somebody else will get the thanks. Somebody that did little to nothing or just talks about how much they've done will get recognition in today's society, like where people will get props and they'll be like, dude, this guy's done so much for scootering. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? No, dude, this guy, like, you know, or that guy, like, you know, I remember.
I think, to be honest, one of those people is probably you, though, because I know you post every now and again when you're sick, or you post a little motivational thing, and that's cool, and a lot of people recognize that. But I think it's a much, because of the way you said your attitude is towards it, you're not going to let it beat you, you don't complain about it that much. I think it's quite understated how much of a feat it actually is to not only, after this many years of riding, continue to be relevant and influential and just memorable, but to do that alongside such incredible physical challenges. That's something that I, to be honest, before this, I didn't know how far back that went. I thought it was now and again, not, for 7 straight years. So essentially, for more years you've had these issues for more years than you haven't had these issues with scootering.
Yeah.
It's more than half of your scooter career, and that's ridiculous. So, so as much as that we could chat to you for about 7 hours about everything, I think we should wrap it up about now. So, yeah, thanks for sharing everything with us.
Thank you for saying the nice things you just did. I
no,
really
it's
appreciate
true.
it, man.
It's true.
crazy.
And yeah, it's good chatting to you. And Dan, I am once again out of a bev.
Yeah, I was about to cheers to that, Bev, and
Yep.
cheers, Cam. You're not
Cheers, mate.
drinking because of health, but tic-tac to the
I just don't
Tic-tacs.
drink. That's like my thing. But
No,
Yeah,
I
fair
understand
enough,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, anyway, just to conclude, we'll have plenty more of these coming your way, loads of other things.
Better
I think
people.
by now you understand
Oh,
it's going to be hard to beat, but there's plenty of stuff to
like I
come.
said, we
get
could talk
Terry
for
Price in here
hours.
right now. The guy that did the double backflip on a scooter.
Oh my god.
Anyway, right.
But-
Yeah, we could be here all night. So, yeah, cheers for watching, boys. This has been Cam Ward. He's an absolute master of everything he touches. And, yeah, once again, 50-50.
Big up, big up.
We're out.
Cheers.
Peace.
Sick.